to see it first thing, if you can, get the first appointment and then submit ASAP and submit very strong. Don't expect to get something with lower than asking or even at asking. Talk to the agent. That was key.
Mm-hmm.
Get in a conversation with them right away. Say, what do we need to do to win this? And, if as long as your buyer really wanted it, and
Right.
just keep the lines of communication open with the agent so that you were top of mind with them. Does that ring true?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of buyers is, hey, Melanie, I really like this house. Let's write an offer. And then you say, all right, do you have any idea what you want to offer? It's like, well, they're asking 750, so let's offer 750. Right. And by the way, this is not their first time around. They've written offers before, right? And they just can't, they keep doing the same mistakes. And so that's another thing, like the buyer's true desire. Do you really want this house? Well, I want it if it can get a good deal.
Right.
So what are, we'll talk about some typical buyer pushback, what I call pushback. So, in gathering information, how well do you know the listing agent? Or rather, how well does the listing agent know you? Right? It's relationship. Like Alexis, share with me here, when you get a buyer that wants to write an offer, you call the listing agent, obviously. How does that conversation usually go?
So I usually find out if they have any offers first. If they do, how many do they have? What is there an offer deadline? And I ask them, like, in addition to the highest price, what is the most important thing to the sellers? Because sometimes it's contingency, sometimes it's lease back, could be a number of different things. So I always ask that before I write the offer, because I've written offers in the past where I didn't ask that and then I missed the mark. So I always want to find out before I write the contract. And then I try to be like as nice as possible to the agent and super easygoing and easy to work with just in the communication. So they think if I do go into escrow with her, I'm going to have a good experience and she's not, rude or mean or, disrespectful or anything like that. So I think the way you're presenting yourself is super important. Just being super flexible and easygoing. And then I do know a lot of agents in the area, so that does help with getting offers accepted. But I think just with my buyers, like I have a buyer looking at 650 and that's their max. So like I told them we need to look at 550 houses. So that way we have room to go up, and we already know things are going for 50 to 75,000 over asking. So instead of me looking at 650 and then they can't even offer anything above, I'm trying to look like 100,000 below their below their pre-approval.
That's a great strategy, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, every now and then there are some few overpriced listings. They're sitting on the market. But those are kind of rare these days.
Yeah.
The relationship, I think, is really key here in gathering information, like how many offers, what's important to the seller, what are some other things, right? This actually happened. One of my buyers wanted to write an offer on a property, and so I called the listing agent. Ring, ring. Hey, Brian, did you get the Venmo I sent you last night? And then he said, yeah, I got it. And I'm like, man, you're too lucky. You can't count on the river card every time like that. I mean, I had a flush and you beat me with a full house. Anyways, look, I'm preparing an offer on your Beethoven listing. What do you got? It's like 5 offers so far. I have a few more coming. And I said, the list price was 1.295. I said, where are you at now? It's like, we're past 1.4 right now. I'm like, thank you. And so I say, look, are you gonna are you open to just taking a good offer, solid offer, and then push for acceptance, or is your seller insisting in like counter offer? And it's like, yeah, they want to wait for the weekend, show as many as possible, and then probably counter offer the top three. So okay, got it. But you see, I mean, if you're close enough to these people to the point that you play poker with, when it comes to this kind of conversation, it's a lot easier to get, all the intel. And so, what are you doing besides playing poker with these agents so you get in that level of relationship, right? So, and it's like most, I hate it when agents come to me, hey, Ho, nice listing. Why are they selling? I'm like, they're selling because they're moving. Ask me something. Don't snake around and try to get information like that. Just, yeah. So that's what I usually get. When it comes to the offer, I think cash offer is tops. I haven't seen a cash buyer that has been in dreamland lately. Even my investors, they want to offer something very substantial. Um, but at the end of the day, cash is one of the things that, because loans are not, there's no loan, there's no appraisal, there's no loan contingency. It's just easier to handle. So let's talk about the offer. What are we writing in the offer, right? Um, Sellers would like seeing a lot of cash in the bank. If there's a loan, how solid is the loan? They typically don't like the 3.5% down, like 5% down, or even 10% down payment. I had a house. I had a house that I had to sell. I had noticed a default, and I put it on the market. I got 3 offers, and the one that we picked wasn't the highest, but we picked because it was $1 million in down payment, and the rest was the loan. It's a $1.7 million offer. Million in the, and I look at the bank account. This guy has like 3 million in there, right? Okay, I think this one is the one. The other ones were offering about 50,000, 60,000 more. I didn't go for that. So even if your buyer is offering 5% down payment, I always ask, hey, do you have more money just to show off? Because typically, they want to see, do you have good credit? Do you have a lot of money in the bank, like reserve? Because if all you have in the bank is enough for the 5% down and barely for the closing cost, you're not looking good. It's just how it is today. Contingencies. Are you guys removing contingencies? Like when you write offers, that's a dicey proposition, because you're really taking leverage off your buyer's, protection. So I typically don't like removing contingencies. Maybe appraisal, even appraisal, unless my buyer is okay with it. And so when you're preparing an offer, I think it's crucial that you go over the entire offer with the buyer, not just the price, not just 30-day escrow, not just the initial down payment, but all the little check boxes. As you fill it out, I've had buyers say, I can't offer to pay more, but hey, how much is this transfer tax? Oh, it's estimated about, whatever, $3,000. It's like, you know what? What if I pay for the transfer tax? Because typically sellers pay for it, right? Um, so I've had buyers that offered to pay the title fee, title insurance, the seller's escrow fee, transfer fee. How about escalation clause? Have you used that escalation clause?
I
Yeah.
have,
How did that work? How did that go for you? Did it work? I had no idea escalation clause existed. I had a listing several years ago in Lamar Park, right on Cherry Avenue. I think I had like 20 offers. And this one old lady agent from Coal Banker, she submits an offer with this addendum, and it says escalation clause. So list price was like $499, and they offered $525, and the addendum says, "This is our offer, $525, all cash. We will beat the next any higher offer than mine by." I think back then it was, "I'll beat that offer by $1,000 increment, not to exceed 550,000." Right? So you have a limit, you put a cap to how much. And listing agent or seller shall provide proof that such higher offer exists. That kind of stuff. So if it comes to that, I don't know, escalation clauses, and I used it a few times for my buyers. Most of my buyers said, "We can do that." It's like, yeah. So I kind of looked like a rock star in front of my buyers. Um, well, it didn't work because they didn't push high enough. Um, and then what else? Love letter. The love letter. The buyers write a love letter to the sellers. "Dear Mr., Mrs., whatever. We fell in love with your house the first moment we laid our eyes on it," or something. It looks like you had many memorable moments. We look forward to have many of these great memorable moments with our family. We have two kids. One is in middle school. One is in elementary. I can only envision our dog Buster running in the backyard. Blah blah blah. That kind of stuff. And for some sellers, that actually works. I've had sellers that are like, "Hey, I have a love letter. Do you want to read it?" It's like, no, no, just bring me the highest offer. I don't care who buys the house. So we've had that too. So it's a mix. Um, right now with equal housing discrimination related stuff, the love letter is being discouraged. We don't want realtors touching that love letter. If the buyer wants to write something like that and deliver directly to the seller, that's fine. You have no part in it. Okay. However, when you take the love letter and hand it to the listing agent has to touch it and hand it to the seller. You're making now decisions on who becomes the buyer based on something other than just the contract. So that's the dicey part, and that's the part that some listing agents don't want to even touch. Um, Lender, do you ask your lender to call the listing agent?
yes,
Because that adds a little bit of how would I say, confidence. Um, when you're looking for a house for your buyer in a certain neighborhood, do you notice that it's not uncommon that you see the same listing agent over and over? Do you see that?
yes,
I mean, not all of them, but it's you. Um, because I had a buyer looking in West Torrance. West Torrance was heavily farmed by this woman, Linda McDermott, and she always wanted the buyer to be cross-qualified by her lender. She doesn't trust anyone but her lender. Now, I knew that. So, And since my buyers are looking into buying in that area only, and I know that lender, his name is Ross. So I called Ross. Hey, Ross, I have a buyer. They're already pre-approved by other lenders. The thing is, I know you work with Linda, and can you just do the loan for my clients and have it pre-approved, and you can just take care of it? It's like, yeah, absolutely. So my buyers were pre-approved by Ross, Linda's lender. The moment Linda's listing came up, and it was a nice house, my buyers loved it. And they say, what should we write? All right, 1.025. I think it was listed at 910, 915. So we offered almost $100,000 above the list price, submitted with the pre-approval lender letter from Ross. And I've always been nice to Linda. And so Linda is like, "Oh, your buyer's pre-approved by my guy." It's like, "Yes." Like, with a big smile, she calls me and says, "Okay, Ho, um, just shorten the inspection contingency to 7 days, and we'll get your offer accepted." You see, she's had a lot of issues with many different lenders in the past. She likes using Ross, and Ross is the only one she trusts. So when Ross says this buyer is good to go, she believes him. So that was a slam dunk strategy for me to get my offer accepted on that particular case. So also consider that if you see a dominant like a listing agent in the neighborhood, yeah, get your buyer pre-approved. Um, any other things that you can imagine, you can think of to strengthen your offer?
I can throw in a
Mhm.
couple.
Yeah.
So my current escrow and then one I did last year, they had multiple offers, and we went above asking when we offered. But then once I do inspections, I try to renegotiate the price down. But what I do is I ask the agent before I write, who's your escrow officer and who's your title? And instead of them having to counter me back with their people, I just write it right into the contract because I know it's going to be competitive anyways. So I put that in there at the beginning before I even submit the contract to the buyer to sign.
So you're making it easier for the listing agent to just make it into an accepted offer.
Exactly. And less things on the counter
Less
offer for them
paperwork.
to reply.
Yeah. So yeah, counter offer, like minimize everything so that there's very little chance of counter offer. And even if the counter offer comes for the price, that's the only thing in question anyway. So it's still very clean. Um, yeah, maybe a real good conversation with the listing agent is like a must. Now the buyer. All right, this is the art part. What are some buyer pushbacks do you run into these days? Well, Mary, I don't know. The prices are so high. Maybe I want to wait a little bit. That kind of stuff. Um, give me some pushback, some objections. You know, I like working with buyers that have a lot of money. Um, okay. Um, it's just easier when they're barely. And by the way, I think every okay, let me take that back. I like working with buyers that have, if they don't have money, I know they have what I call a love you bank. Friends, family, you know, people that can help them. Let's say their max is 650 and we're showing houses and they absolutely love it. And we get in a bidding war. So now it's up to like 725. So they're short on money, but they really want it. You see, the desire is there. Man, when you see that desire, you gotta jump on it. So you ask, hey, do you have an I love you bank? Like where you can just tap into and get some cash and gift. Um, so that I like having that conversation like prior. And when talking to buyers, they typically want to give me a range, like a maximum number for purchase. Yeah, I don't want to go over, $800,000. Okay, got it. And then I like asking, what if we find the perfect house, the your forever house? What would you pay then? And I typically get a reaction like, oh, if that's the case, then, oh, I have to think, something. Because whatever they're buying today, I guess they're kind of settling because 800 is the most they want to spend. So they're not even thinking this is their ideal perfect house. But have that conversation too. Um, yeah, buyer objections. I mean, it's like, yeah, prices are high. What are some typical ones? I want to wait. I don't want to pay that much. Oh, is that a bidding war already? How many offers do they have? Oh, they have 7 offers. I don't want to. I don't want to be part of the bidding war. Do you hear that? It's like, no, I don't want this anymore, right? Um, because in the beginning, I asked my buyers to have money ready to go, proof of funds, pre-approval, all ready to go. And I tell them, look, Mr. Buyer, I understand you want a nice property. Reality is, you're not the only one that wants a nice property. And so when a nice property comes up, you'll go quick. And by the way, you should be glad there are other people that want it too. It'll be scary to know that you are the only person wanting to buy this house and nobody else. When was the last time you had a dinner at a restaurant and you're the only person in that restaurant? It's kind of like that. These are types of like conversations that we have to be able to have with our buyers. Uh, yeah, it's been sitting on the market. What's wrong with the house? The price. Let's write a lowball offer. I'm okay with that. Uh, I do that all the time. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's fine. Um, there's a sucker for every house. Um, Not my client. Um, how about the maximum dollar amount for purchase? For example, um, so let's look at who's here. Okay, Emily, let's say you're buying a house. And I tell you, look, there are 5 offers already. The list price is 1.1 million. Well, what do you want to offer? You know, and from speaking to Alexis, she is the listing agent. We got to go in about 125. I mean, she didn't tell me a number, but that's the gut feeling I have. 1.25. What do you think, Emily? What do you think? Would you be okay with that?
Really depends if I have that money.
Well, no, yeah, yeah, you do. For
Okay.
for this exercise, you do. You have all the money in the world, but you're like, the reason you have all the money in the world is because you're pretty smart with your money, and so you don't like parting with your money, and so you're gonna be like, I have to pay that much. So typically, like, okay, well, let's say you agree 1.25, right? And then the next question is gonna be, so I hope that 1.25 will do the trick. If it doesn't, and there's another buyer that offered a little more, like 1.265, and they get it. And we find out 30 days later after that escrow closes. Would you be okay with that? Right? Because you have to paint the picture. Like, let's say we don't get it, they accept another offer, and then 30 days later we find out it was just 15, like, I don't know, 5,000 more. And then the last thing I want to hear is Emily telling me, oh, if it was only 5,000, I would have paid, right? And so because I don't like that feeling, and nobody does, even the buyers, say, look, what if somebody outbids you for $5,000? Would you be okay? Oh, okay, let's offer 5,000 more. Okay, so that's the number. If anyone pays more than that, let them have it, right? I'm like, oh, so this is like a fight within, like whoever they have in their mind. And I tell them, look, Mr. Buyer, I hate doing this exercise with you and I hate putting you through the stress and pain, but you want the house, don't you? And you nod your head as you're asking them. Um, and if they don't, that's fine. Make sense? So, is this your maximum? Are you okay with walking away from it? You know, at what number you're completely okay walking away from this property? That's what you're gonna find out. Um, I usually ask the love letter again. The love letter. I typically suggest there are some buyers that are really emotional and touchy feely. Um, if you're a good writer or you have any genuine emotional like desire for this house, I suggest you write a letter and deliver it to them directly because I'm not allowed to touch it. Um, you know, regardless of how many offers are out there and how competitive the market is, if you have a buyer that is really determined, you will get the offer accepted. I mean, yes, it is important that we have a good relationship with the listing agent, that we know the market, we know the contract, and we write a beautiful offer. And that's all great. But without the real desire from the person holding the money, it's really difficult. You may be the greatest, representative, like writing the most beautiful contract. If the buyer is not saying okay or yes, it's not going to happen. So in this multiple offer situation, seller's market, I really like working with determined buyers. Like they are either on a time crunch or they are in pain because of where they live. I've had clients that moved from a three-story house after a hip surgery into a single story. They're in pain. One more day is just too much. They want out of there. Or like, their dog had another dog, a little puppy, and now they have two or three dogs, and the HOA does not allow dogs anymore, like more than one. Yeah, they want to move ASAP, stuff like that. So they want to buy something, really motivated buyers with money, not dreamy. So I suggest you go through your roster list of buyers and categorize them and really look for the ones that are motivated and give them more attention. Um, so I always like kind of wrapping things up with the action plan. I suggest you go out and build relationships, deeper, meaningful relationships with fellow realtors. I don't care who you are and how much, you know, as long as you are representing your client, it's your job, your duty to do everything possible to become a better representative to your client. And that means building relationships with other agents. You can't succeed alone. Um, you have to really know your market. Here's an example of what I mean by know your market. Pre-pandemic, of course, I was holding an open house. A couple walk in, a couple husband and wife. I was husband and wife. Um, I start chatting with them, and I don't like asking, "Hey, are you working with an agent?" Or like, "Are you pre-approved?" I don't like asking those questions. They quickly went in, took a little look, and then they were about to go out. And I say, "Excuse me, what do you think?" It's like, "Well, it's okay." I said, have you been writing offers lately? That's what I asked. And then they said, yeah, it's so frustrating. We don't get anything accepted. We don't even know what the number we have to write. It's just like multiple offers everywhere. It's like, oh, I feel the pain. I feel the pain. Hey, which one was the last one you wrote an offer on? And then she says, the one on Maricopa. And I said, the one in Belmont Court gated community? She's like, yeah. It was listed at 898, 890, 898, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, I know that one. So now, this is a real true story. I had a buyer that liked it. I was writing an offer. So I called the listing agent, Lauren, my friend Lauren. Hey, Lauren, how many offers you have? And she's like, you know, we didn't have as many offers as expected, but I have enough. And it pushed the price up to like 915, 920. I think it's going to end up at 920. So I got that info and I told my buyers, look, we got to come higher than 920 if you want this house. They're like, oh, 900 is our absolute max. And I say, you can't get 20,000 more? He's like, no, I can't. And so I'm sharing this story to the open house visitors. I said, look, I knew the listing agent, I got the information, and I told my clients what they had to do to get it. Okay. And I bet you, it was at the top of their affordability, range, so they didn't go for it. I don't know what you were willing to pay, but my gut tells me it's going to go for 921, 922, because typically people offer a couple thousand above that number. And when I shared that story, the husband and wife, they looked at each other and they had this look like, we're working with the wrong agent, because their agent never tells them anything. They're the ones having to guess what the offer is. So are you the agent that has this kind of info, right? And speaking of um, offered dollar amount, typically people offer multiples of 5,000 increments. Agree? Like 995, they don't go 996. They go 995, 1 million, 1 million 10, 1 million 20, increments even at 10,000 increment. I typically find what that maximum number for my buyer is, and I suggest to them add another $2,200 or some broken number, not just $500 more, but a couple thousand more. Come on, in the mortgage payment, it's not going to change a damn thing. Just offer just a little more, 2,000 or 3,000 more. When the listing agent sees all these offers and everyone is at 1,050,000, let's say you have 5 offers at 1,050,000, of course you're going to send a counter offer to all 5. But if you had 1,057,000, it's very much likely, and you have the relationship, you have pretty good odds of getting the 1,057,000 offered, accepted, instead of counter offered. Yeah, educate your buyer. I really think buyer's emotion is what we have to understand. Do you have any difficult buyers you're working with right now? Anybody? Come on, share with me. There's got to be some, pain in the ass buyer out there making your life miserable.
I'll go.
Yeah.
My buyer he doesn't want to go to asking price even. And it's really been hard. I'm considering,
Okay.
not working with him anymore, because I've tried to tell him this kind of market that we're in,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah.
is he the type that just refuses to pay full price? Is that, I mean, I'm kind of like that when it comes to certain things. I just refuse to pay full price.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Um, have you ever seen this behavior? I say, Melanie, that's a beautiful purse. Oh, I got it on sale.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very common answer. Or instead of saying thank you, most people say, look how clever and thrifty I am. I'm really smart. I got it on sale. I never pay full price. You know, I think people do that in anything they buy. And sounds like your buyer and a few of my buyers are very similar in that sense. They just refuse to pay the like top dollar because they don't want their friends to know that they won a bidding war and they paid like $100,000 above list price and blah blah blah. They don't
Right.
want, because they want to look good. So if you know that is the case, you got to have a conversation with them, and it has to be really brutal. And they may deny, but you plant the seed. Oh, planting the seed is a very powerful thing. So I actually told one of my buyers, "Hey Frank, I know you want to get a good deal, and I as your agent, I want you to get the most beautiful, nicest house for the least amount of money. But if you want this beautiful, nice house, you just have to pay. It's just how it is. Because if you don't, somebody's going to pay more and they're going to get it." And by the way, I bought many houses in the past. And every time I bought a nice, like a good property, I overpaid. I had to overpay. Um, I had a house in Palos Verdes. It came on the market. Oh, by the way, I was telling my agent at the time, um, okay, stop showing me everything. I don't want to see any more houses. Here's all you need to know. The house has to be on Alta Vista Drive, Clear Vista, or Island View. I was just determined to get a property with an ocean view. That was my determined soul telling me. These were the three streets. Don't show me anything else. And if it's Clear Vista, it has to be on the Ocean View side, Alta Vista, Ocean View side, because there always is the house on the other non-view side, right? That's the sucker house. I no. If you live on a street called Island View, you better have the view of the island. So a couple months go by. I'm driving down to LA to my office, and she calls me like really early. Mr. Chung, there's a new listing that hit the MLS this morning. It's on Clear Vista. And I said, odd or even number? It's like, odd. And it's what you wanted. I said, okay, let me make a U-turn. Can we go see it right now? He's like, I'll arrange showing. Just meet me there. Okay. So I make a U-turn. I even open my shop late that day. Look at the property. It needs a complete rehab. It's really kind of old, original condition. But the view, oh my God, unobstructed, like 180-degree view, Catalina Island. It was just awesome. Half-acre lot, pretty decent size house. One point, was it listed at 1.1? I think it was listed at 1.1, 1.07 or something like that. I ended up offering 1.125. And then I'm pretty sure that was the number. So I didn't even ask, are there any other offers or anything like that? I just wanted that place. And so I paid. And that's the one later, 3 years later, when my business tanked, I got a notice of default. And so I had to sell it. And when it came time to sell, I sold at 1.75. I paid 1.1 and I sold at 1.7 in 3 years. That's huge. Why? Because he had the view. So I like sharing this to the different clients. Look, the reason you want a nice, the reason you should be okay with overpaying for a nice piece of property. And by the way, you can rely on me. I'll tell you if this is not the one that is that nice. Because all I'm thinking is the day you, 5 years later, 10 years later, when you call me, oh, I wanna move. Can you list my house? That's what I'm thinking about. So it better be a nice place where I could just sell easily just like that for top dollar. Isn't that what you want? And in order to end up with a property like that, you just have to overpay. And by the way, Melanie, and this is what I tell my clients. If you're able to get something for cheap, it's probably because nobody else wanted it. I always go back to that. And I'm not sure why you want something nobody else wants. You're gonna be stuck with it.
Yeah.
So I don't argue with them. I just share a little story like that. And then maybe hopefully they internalize it. And the next time you see them, okay, Melanie, let's write like $50,000 above this price. Wouldn't you love to hear that?
Yes, that would be a miracle.
No, but you see, if they don't, it's because they didn't have the desire. And it's actually our duty and responsibility to find out what that is. And the reason a lot of us have difficulty is because we don't quite understand what the buyer wants. So keep that in mind.
That's a good point. Thank you.
So, I mean, we'll have another conversation on messing with people's emotion, understanding the buyer's emotion. But I think that's just crucial. So I don't think you want to end up like this. Okay. And I really suggest you just hone in your skills of like dealing and talking to buyers and understanding what they need. Any questions or comments or different ideas? I don't think anything we talked about today was anything really out of this world new. I'm just reminding. And I think in many places in your own life right now, not in real estate, you are exercising these techniques already. I bet you. Put them to use in real estate. So this is how you contact me. These are, if you scan this QR code, you get to my Calendly scheduling page. You want to have a sit down with me or to talk about different difficult clients that you may have, you're welcome to do it. I love solving problems. We can solve problems together. So connect on Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse. Anybody on Clubhouse? Alexis, you're not on Clubhouse? No,
Not
you're
yet.
too busy.
Not
You're gonna
yet.
have a baby, new house. No. Forget it.
I need an invite. No.
Yeah, well, I'm addicted to this Clubhouse. I waste hours and hours on that thing. So feel free to reach out. It's never bother. My job is to talk to people, either fellow agents or clients. And I know our office makes money when you make money. So I need to make sure our office makes money, which means you guys have to make money. So I am determined to see it happening. Let me help you. Okay?
Thank you, Ho.
Thank
Any
you, Ho.
comments?
Yeah.
Any other-
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ho.
You're welcome.